Alrighty folks, good morning and welcome back into this new More Weather Forecast video. My name is Becca Moore and I'm back here in the weather studio. It's been a little bit, but we have two big severe weather threats we got to talk about. We haven't had a lot of severe weather threats, at least the ones that we're really trying to hone in on, especially the one today and tomorrow. That's why I want to get this video out so I can give you all the details and keep you guys prepared. So let's get straight into the forecast here, looking at the Storm Prediction Center's outlook for today. Now, this was updated just recently. There's an enhanced risk, 3 out of 5, as you can see right down here, for places into eastern Kansas and western Missouri, really centered around Kansas City. Outside of that, including places such as Salina, Kansas as well, there's a slight risk and then a marginal risk outside of that. So this is a regional, maybe even local, you could call it, enhanced risk here, but that doesn't mean it's a lesser risk or anything like that. You still really need to be prepared from Topeka over towards Kansas City, Lee Summit, the suburbs there in Kansas City. You really need to be on guard tonight, late this afternoon, into this evening, and into the overnight hours for those severe storms. So let's look at the severe potential for tonight's storms through Kansas. Again, eastern Kansas, northeastern, if you want to get really specific, and then into western, northwestern Missouri. That tornado threat is not very big. It is about a moderate, not a total moderate, but I put it at half of a moderate because it is a 5% chance, which sounds small, but that still means we could see a few tornadoes. It sounds small, but that still does mean we could still see a few tornadoes. So you do need to be prepared for that. Have a way to get those tornado warnings tonight through Kansas City over towards Topeka there in Kansas and over into western Missouri. That damaging wind threat, pretty conditional, a moderate threat, but that hail threat is our largest threat, for this event. You need to be prepared for those hail storms. These storms are going to likely have pretty large hail on them. So if you do have a garage, if you have somewhere to put your car, please put your car inside where it will not get hit by hail, because these storms will damage things that are outdoor, especially those cars. So anything that outdoor that you don't want to get damaged, put that inside. And if you can, please put your car inside, because this is going to be the biggest threat. Hail, and this is not going to be small hail on most of the storms. On some, maybe, but on those stronger storms, it will likely be pretty large hail. That flooding threat here is at a moderate, but it's pretty low. The flooding does not look like it's going to be too big of an issue for you. So our area to watch tonight is this area that I have outlined in the circle/oval shape. This is around 6 to 7 p.m. here, 7 to 8 p.m. I think, here into, again, northern Kansas, northeastern Kansas, northwestern Missouri. That's where we could see from the start here around 6 to 8 p.m. those storms fire off, and especially look at that. The more enhanced the colors are, so when you're seeing that purple, the bigger chance there's going to be hail in these storms. So these storms are definitely going to have hail in them. Again, some could have large hail in them, so you're going to want to be prepared for this if you're up towards St. Joseph there as well. Again, Kansas City down here, we could see these storms shift to the south as well. So we're really going to have to watch out for that tornado threat again. Some of these isolated storms, these more isolated storms, could get some rotation on them, and we could see a tornado threat. So you got to be prepared for that, but the main thing is hail, and then also some damaging winds, some downbursts are possible as well. But just look at this area. If you're in this area, make sure you are prepared tonight. Again, it's going to be probably from the 5 to 10 o'clock range here, really getting intense from about 6 to 9 o'clock. So that's when you really want to be prepared. Have multiple ways to get warnings. This is not a choice. You really do need to do that. You really do need to have multiple ways to get warnings. Now, our severe risk timeline for Kansas City, since that is the biggest city in this enhanced risk. So tonight, that's when our storm threat starts. So 4 to 6 p.m., there is a low threat. So it's going to probably start around 6 p.m. Could we see a couple cells fire off 4 to 6? Yes, but that's not very likely. It looks like as we go into 6 to 8 p.m., there you can see with the 3, that's really when we're going to start getting those storms to fire off south of Kansas City and moving to the northeast direction. And I also have that for 8 to 10 p.m. as we continue to see those storms move north, say towards Omaha there as well. So we're going to have to watch that closely. Again, Kansas City overnight tonight, that's when you're going to have to watch out for storms. Again, have multiple ways to get those warnings. Now tomorrow we do have another threat for severe weather, and you could argue this threat is even more significant, but we're not going to talk about that. We really just need to hone in on the threats. This is an enhanced risk 3 out of 5 again threat for severe weather. It is also a regional, more local threat into southern Missouri, extreme southwestern Missouri, into parts of western Arkansas there, and into parts of southeastern Oklahoma. Now, I do really think this will expand, possibly including, say, Springfield, up through St. Louis as well. I do think it may move north because we are going to have a pretty substantial threat through Missouri as well. So, it doesn't really matter if you're in the slight risk. It doesn't matter if you're in enhanced risk or slight risk. You still need to be equal amount prepared for that. Slight risk includes Dallas, Texarkana, Little Rock, St. Louis, Champaign, Illinois, Quincy, Illinois, as well as Poplar Bluff, Missouri, Springfield, Missouri there as well. So a lot of population centers in here where you really need to be prepared, especially in St. Louis. I think we're going to have a pretty substantial severe weather threat tomorrow night. So tomorrow night, not tonight, but tomorrow night, we're really going to have to watch out for that. Now, severe potential, it might look similar because it is the same as today. I think this could get upgraded just a little bit from today, but for right now, I'm just keeping with the same. Again, encroaching on that moderate tornado threat. Although we aren't going to have the greatest wind shear, there is going to be some storms, especially if they're by themselves and isolated, that really could rotate. So I think the biggest threat for tornadoes will probably be through central Missouri into southern Missouri and into parts of eastern Arkansas. I think that's where we're probably going to see, if we do see a tornado, that's going to happen. So a few tornadoes are possible. Damaging wind, it is another conditional threat, moderate. And again, for this day, hail threat. The hail threat on this day tomorrow could be even more enhanced. We could see even larger hail on these storms. So really, this is one of the threats that you really need to watch out for. Just like I said, for if you're in Kansas City tonight, again, cover your cars, make sure they're indoors, under a carport, something if you can. Put them in a parking garage if you can, because these storms are likely going to have hail on them, especially the stronger ones are going to have damaging hail on them, so you really do need to be prepared for that. And then that flooding is at a moderate. The flooding is a little bit more enhanced for this event, especially as you go down into Arkansas, likely training of storms, southern Missouri. And this one's in Missouri, so this is around 7 to 8 p.m. or 6 to 8 p.m. I think. Sorry about that. 6 to 8 p.m. Here in Missouri. This is the HRRR model, so this is what the radar could look like as we go into the future. It's not exactly what it's going to look like likely, but it is what it could look like. It's what all the data is coming in, and this is what it's showing for tomorrow evening. Now, as you can see, there's multiple big cells here, and as I talked about in the today's setup, if you see those purples, even those whites, that means there's definitely going to be hail on those storms, and that's pretty much present with all of these storms. Again, that's why we have that large hail threat. And you can see these isolated cells. Some of these cells could be capable of producing tornadoes. I've been looking at the soundings, I've been looking at the data, and there is a possibility of seeing some tornadoes in here. We're going to have a lot of instability. Shear is not going to be the best, but it's still sufficient for maybe a few tornadoes. So especially in your St. Louis, we can't rule out a tornado there. We can't rule out there. I will have coverage from St. Louis, so stay tuned for that tomorrow afternoon, into the evening, and into the nighttime hours. So I will be there in St. Louis and even down towards Raleigh, Springfield. That's where we're going to be dealing with these storms tomorrow night. Again, this is our area to watch in that red outlined area. If you're in that area for tomorrow night, please be prepared, have multiple ways to get warnings, and again, cover your cars. Our second area to watch here is into eastern Oklahoma and into parts of western Arkansas, here along the border. This is later in the night, around 9 to 10 o'clock, and this is a cluster of storms. So likely when we get these storms to fire off, they will quickly, in probably a matter of 1 to 2 hours, congeal into little clusters of storms. We're going to see that upscale growth from these storms, and we're probably going to see these clusters. Now, a couple hours before this, say through 6 to 8 p.m. here, we could see a couple isolated cells in the northwestern part of the state, so we're going to have to watch out for that, for a larger tornado threat and hail threat, say towards Fayetteville. But really, when that threat becomes a little bit more widespread, according to the HRRR, is going to be later into the nighttime, 9 to 10 o'clock. So this will carry a more substantial damaging wind threat, and it will also continue to do that hail threat. And we could still see some embedded circulations in some of these storms in this congealed air cluster. So we're going to have to continue to watch that. Fort Smith, and this will push its way on over to Little Rock. That's what it is expected to now. Now, could we have a little bit more of some room between these storms? Maybe they're not so congealed. That's possible. So I'll keep you updated. Make sure you follow me on X for the latest details. And that about wraps up this more weather forecast video. Make sure you subscribe. Go follow me on X. Again, today is centered around Kansas City over towards Topeka and into parts of northwestern Missouri. You really do need to be prepared. The largest threat is hail. Have multiple ways to get warnings tonight, mainly from that 6 to 10 o'clock time frame. And then tomorrow, another threat could be even more enhanced, could be even more substantial through Missouri, say St. Louis down through Springfield, Little Rock, Dallas there as well, Texarkana. You're really going to want to be prepared. Again, largest threat is hail, but both of these days, today and tomorrow, we could see some tornadoes as well. So please be prepared. Again, have multiple ways to get warnings and protect your things that are outside, especially your car. Make sure you cover your car. As always, stay prepared out there, and I will see you soon with more weather.